Once upon a time in ancient Iran, during a spring festival, the elderly king of Marv, Mobad, sees the queen of Mobad and falls deeply in love with her. The queen of Mobad, Shahru, who is a middle-aged but beautiful and attractive woman, and also married, makes excuses to Mobad and says that she is too old to engage in a romantic relationship, rejecting him. The king of Marv, Mobad, who is a lustful man, does not give up on her and asks her to marry at least one of her daughters to him. Shahru replies that she does not have a daughter to give him, however, Mobad insists. Shahru then promises that if she ever has a daughter, she will give her to him, confident that at her age, she would not bear any children, thus freeing herself from Mobad's persistence. Unexpectedly, after some time, Shahru becomes pregnant and gives birth to a very beautiful daughter whom she names Vis. Years pass, and Vis reaches the age of marriage. Since marrying close relatives was common among noble and wealthy families in ancient Iran, Shahru marries her daughter to Vis's brother Viru. Mobad learns about the marriage of Vis and Viru and sends his brother Zard to remind Shahru of the promise she made to him years ago. In the meantime, Vis and her mother, Shahru, are not willing to proceed with this marriage. The wedding of Vis and Viru is postponed for a week, giving Mobad the opportunity to march on Mobad. A great battle ensues, and in the battle, Shahru's husband, Vis's father, was killed. However, Mobad cannot overpower Shahru and her family. Then Mobad sends gifts again to Shahru and asks for Vis's hand in marriage, reminding her of their old pact. This time, Shahru agrees, and Mobad sends his brother Ramin to bring the bride to his land. Ramin, along with the bridal caravan, sets off from Mobad to Marv, but along the way, a sudden wind blows and lifts the curtain of Vis's carriage. Ramin sees Vis and instantly falls in love with her, remembering that they grew up together and shared a common nurse during their childhood. Despite Vis's reluctance, Vis and Mobad get married. However, Vis does not surrender herself to Mobad and does not allow him to touch her. Therefore, using the excuse of mourning for her father, she temporarily keeps Mobad away. Vis finds her nurse from childhood in Marv and asks her to find a way to keep the old man away from her. The nurse, who loves Vis very much, creates a spell that temporarily removes Mobad's sexual ability. She buries this spell by the riverbank. After a short while, a storm rises and destroys the spell, making it permanent, and the nurse is unable to retrieve it to break the spell. Meanwhile, the nurse finds the courage to approach Vis and wins her heart to persuade her to accept Ramin's love. The nurse talks to Vis and, with descriptions of Ramin, brings Vis's heart closer to him. The nurse arranges for Vis and Ramin to meet. One day, Mobad throws a grand feast and invites Shahru and Viru as well. During the feast, Mobad is informed that Vis and Ramin are having a romantic relationship. Mobad becomes furious and threatens to punish them. However, to his dismay, Vis admits the truth and declares her deep love for Ramin. Shahru, Vis's mother, and Viru, Vis's brother, advise her against this, but Vis remains steadfast in her love. Vis and Ramin decide to escape to another city to be free from Mobad. Some time passes, and Mobad loses track of them until Ramin sends a letter to his mother to relieve her worries. His mother informs Mobad, who then finds them and brings them back to Marv. The elders of the land intervene, and Mobad forgives them and separates them. Ramin burns with the pain of his love for Vis. He makes a harp and sings a song of sorrow for his separation from Vis at a party. Mobad is informed that his brother, Ramin, is still in love with Vis and has revealed this scandal at a grand party. Mobad confronts Ramin and threatens him with death, but this time Ramin defends his love for Vis and tells Mobad he has no fear. This matter is resolved through the mediation of the elders. To prevent further troubles between the two brothers, the elders suggest Ramin move to another city. Ramin leaves Marv and marries a girl named Gol to forget Vis, but he fails to do so, and Gol leaves him. This time, Ramin writes a letter to Vis and entrusts it to the nurse to deliver it to Vis. They exchange letters, and with the nurse's planning, they arrange for Ramin to gather men to seize the city when Mobad leaves for hunting. On the appointed day, the nurse takes the women of the palace to the fire temple under the pretext of worship, and Ramin, with 40 warriors dressed as women, enters the palace and loots Mobed's treasury. However, before serious fighting begins, a boar attacks Mobed at night and kills him. Thus, with Mobed's death, the city falls into Ramin's hands without war and bloodshed. Vis and Ramin marry and live together for many years until they grow old, and Vis passes away. Ramin, overwhelmed with grief, stays by his eternal love's grave for 3 years until he also dies, and he is buried beside Vis. Hey, I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss our stories. Bye.